All right, let's get right into it. We're going to break down a really important report about something that's quietly changing all of our lives: how the New Zealand government is using artificial intelligence and these things called predictive algorithms. I mean, just think about that for a second. It sounds like something straight out of a sci-fi movie, right? But this question gets right to the heart of what we're talking about today. These aren't just abstract numbers on a screen. These are automated systems making calls that have massive, real-world impacts on people's lives. And you might be thinking, oh, that's years away. Nope. The 2019 report we're digging into makes it super clear. This stuff is already here. These systems are already woven into New Zealand's public services, making critical decisions every single day. And just look at how widespread this is. You've got systems like RoC RoI, which has been used for ages to figure out an offender's risk of being reconvicted. The Accident Compensation Corporation, or ACC, uses automated tools to help speed up claims, which is great for getting people support faster. Then there's Yourst for youth offenders, and even algorithms screening people and goods coming across the border. It's everywhere. So when we use this term government AI, it is crucial to get one thing straight. We are not talking about thinking, feeling robots making choices. We're really talking about something called predictive models. And believe it or not, the idea behind them has been around for a very, very long time. At its heart, a predictive model is basically a statistical guessing machine. It looks at a huge pile of past events, that's the training data, and it learns the patterns. Then it uses those patterns to make a really educated guess, a prediction, about something new. Think of it like a weather forecaster, but for human behavior or risk. And this slide just perfectly illustrates that this is an evolution, not some sudden robot revolution. The basic concept of using data to predict stuff goes all the way back to 18th century insurance tables. Governments got on the act in the 1830s. What's changed today is just the incredible power and complexity of the models we can build, thanks to massive computers and all the data we have now. Okay, so to really understand the stakes, let's look at how these things play out in a real-world and pretty controversial case from the US. It involves a tool called Compass, and it's become this huge cautionary tale in the whole debate about algorithmic justice. So, in the United States, this tool, Compass, is used all over the place. It spits out a risk score for defendants, basically predicting how likely they are to commit another crime. And judges actually use that score to help them make decisions about things like jail time and parole. But here's where we hit the real nerve of the issue. This quote just nails it. The biggest danger is that these tools create this false sense of scientific objectivity, that imprimatur of impartiality for systems that might be built on historically biased information to begin with. It's like putting a shiny technical mask on old problems. And in 2016, a team of journalists at ProPublica decided to pull back the curtain. They dug into the data from more than 10,000 criminal defendants in Florida to see how well this Compass tool was actually working. And what they found? Well, it was deeply troubling. Just look at these numbers. This is the really shocking part. The investigation looked specifically at the mistakes the algorithm was making. For people who did not go on to commit another crime, Black defendants were almost twice as likely to be wrongly flagged as high risk compared to white defendants. The algorithm's errors were not random. They were falling along racial lines. So this brings us right to the core conflict, the central battleground of this whole topic. These tools are sold on the promise of making things fairer and more efficient, but they carry this incredible peril of just making the biases we already have even worse. So on the promise side, the arguments are pretty compelling, right? Maybe more accurate than a tired human judge. Huge gains in efficiency and consistency, treating everyone the same. But then you flip the coin. On the peril side, you have the risk of baking in that historical bias, the black box problem where even the creators don't know why it made a certain decision, and this danger of automation complacency, where humans just start to blindly trust the machine and stop thinking for themselves. And this brings up a huge, huge roadblock: transparency. The Compass algorithm is a privately owned trade secret. So if the public, or even the courts using it, can't look under the hood and see how it works, how on earth can we check if it's fair? How can we challenge its decisions? Accountability becomes pretty much impossible. Okay, so knowing all these risks, what's the plan? What do we do? The great thing about the New Zealand report is that it doesn't just point out the problems, it actually proposes a really clear roadmap for how to manage these tools responsibly. And the core argument is this. We can't just sit back and wait for someone to be harmed by a bad algorithmic decision and then hope they have the resources to challenge it. That's just not fair. What we need is proactive, systemic oversight. We need to get ahead of the problems. The main recommendation is to create an independent regulatory body, a kind of watchdog with some real teeth. Its job would be to set clear rules for everyone, keep a public list of every algorithm the government is using, publish annual reports on how they're working out, and, this is key, constantly monitor them to actively hunt for bias or any other negative impacts. The report also adds some really smart details. It says we shouldn't just check brand new algorithms, but also when an old algorithm is used for a new purpose. And it hammers home the need to consult with everybody, especially the communities most likely to be affected by these tools, like Maori and Pacific peoples, to make sure their voices are heard right from the start. So this leaves us with a fundamental challenge moving forward, doesn't it? This technology is not slowing down. The models are only going to get smarter, more complex, and more powerful. The real question for New Zealand, and really for every country, is how do we build a system of checks and balances that can actually keep up? How do we make sure our commitment to fairness evolves just as fast as the technology itself?